Hi, Peter Boolkah here, and welcome to today's edition of The Transition Guide. Now, joining me today is Adam Houlahan, CEO of Prominence Global, and we're here today to speak to you about LinkedIn, but more importantly, about how to get your LinkedIn profile right. Because we've seen a huge spike in the usage of LinkedIn over the last couple of years, and fundamentally, so many people get it wrong, don't they, Adam?
Peter, amazingly, I'd put the number at about 95%. And given there's 750 million people on LinkedIn now, that's a big number.
Wow, as high as 95%.
Yep.
And what is it that they do how comes they get it so wrong?
All I can put it down to is just not really understanding how to do it right. So, there's a number of key parts of getting a profile really well put together, but like everything, there's 20% of actions you can do that'll do 80% of the job. And really, if everyone even just did those 20%, then that number, or they'll certainly be in the top 5% almost overnight. So, it's well worth going through what we're about to chat about, and it's not that difficult to do.
In your opinion, why is getting the profile right so crucial?
Well, it's a visual representation of you. So you think about it. The interesting thing when you do optimize your profile correctly, and as I'm sure you would know with your profile, Peter, if I was to search for you on Google, the thing that's going to come up number one almost always is your LinkedIn profile. So it gets a lot more visibility than what most people actually are aware. And so if it's going to be the first representation of you that people see, you want to make sure it's a good one.
Now, that's a really fair point. So in terms of profile, what things should people do to make sure that they've got a good profile?
Yeah, good question. So what I'd say, the number one thing is that I see that it's done wrong, is not having a background image. So if you've just got that plain background that LinkedIn puts there as almost like a placeholder, then number one, you are communicating to the world that you actually don't really care that much about your profile because you couldn't be bothered to even just come up with a background image. So it's really, really important to have a background image, and also not overly expensive to do these days. I mean, if you've got a little bit of skill in graphic design, you can create your own on something like Canva. But what I'd really recommend is just do a bit of a search on sites like Fiverr or Freelancer. For $20, you will get somebody to do an amazing job for you. And it's a good way to have a little bit of branding. And if anybody wants a good example, go and have a look at yours. Yours is awesome. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the profile image, the image of yourself. So LinkedIn's a professional platform. You don't want that selfie you took at the barbecue last weekend or anything like that. You want to put a little bit of effort into a decent headshot. So that never ever should it be a logo. That's the number two sort of biggest mistake I see. Is some people think that that's where they should put their branding, but realistically, it should always be an image of yourself and a reasonably up-to-date image. Something 10 years old or older, as I've often seen, is not doing you any favors either. So that's the really quick visible part that people see. That's 80% of it right there. That's what people are going to see. But below that is what's called a professional headline. Now, if you don't put something there, LinkedIn is just going to, by default, put your job title, your most recent job title, which really isn't serving you in any way. What I would suggest is, if you think about this section, is one section that LinkedIn uses in determining where they're going to show you in searches. So you think about sort of three search terms that you would want to be found for, and you want to make sure that those three search terms are in that professional headline. And to be honest, Peter, if people just did that, then the difference they would see in the amount of visibility they get on their profile, the level of professionalism that people would consider that you've gone to without even going super deep on all the rest, that would make a massive difference.
And to be honest with you, Adam, I think I've been guilty in the past, especially when you talk about the background image. I haven't really made use of that space. And actually, when you look at it, it's there all the time. So it's a fantastic way of getting a message across. So I've done that. I mean, I think I've been quite good at the sort of photos. I suppose the one lesson I've learned over the years is probably it's good to get your photos done every couple of years because
Yep.
so much does change. And actually, it's a nice refresh as well.
Yeah, and there really is nothing worse, as I've mentioned, of if you say do people do take the next step and reach out to you and want to have albeit these days it's mostly on Zoom more than face to face, but even on Zoom, and I'll give you an example. I had somebody want to connect with me on LinkedIn. They wanted to talk about some of our programs. We connected on Zoom, and the person that was on camera was a good 20 years older than the profile image, and it actually creates this immediate disconnect. So not so bad when someone was reaching out to me, but if it was the other way around, um, you know, people find it very disconcerting to see that. So um, it's just marketing 101 really. You just want to have the best representation of yourself in the true self. So often what people say is, but the 20-year-old photos are much better representation of me than the current one. But if that's not how we look today, that's it's just not good.
I'd even say it goes as far to it creates distrust as well.
Exactly right. That's what I sort of meant by disconnect. It's just this level of distrust that you can almost see people do it where they'll just kind of step away from the camera like that. It's just it's that physical that people have of a reaction that people have.
What about the final bit? I mean, you're talking about in the final part of the profile, sort of about things about you, the messaging you want to get about you. But the challenge is a lot of people, I don't think they know what they want to be found for. They think they know what they want to be found for, but actually what they put on their profile isn't necessarily exactly what they offer or deliver. And therefore they complain that they never get the results out of LinkedIn.
Exactly. And what I would suggest is the other mistake is also that people think the about section is again the top part of your profile that you should have, and it's not actually by default activated on your profile. You have to go into your settings to activate it. But as you said, a lot of times people don't get that part right. And in the simplest term, the way that I would recommend to think about it is think about the three problems and the three solutions you have to those problems. If you can articulate that, then people will resonate with it, because the reality is people don't really care how you do what you do. They care, actually the thing they care about the most is why you do what you do. So if you put a bit of your why you do what you do, I guarantee people will resonate with that. And then these are the problems that that I understand the market to have, and these are my solutions to those problems. That will intrigue people to want to reach out and have a conversation with you, as opposed to if you try to get into the nuances of this is how my program works and we do this and then we do that. It's kind of too early for that part of the process. And people, to be honest, at the end of the day, people don't actually really care how you do it. They just care that they want to be have a level of trust that they know that you are probably capable of delivering what you are suggesting you're good at.
And they don't necessarily care what you did 20 years ago, right? Because I've seen people's profiles that just read on and on and on and on and on. And it's like a decorated soldier of honor.
It's kind of like I've seen people who've got that many past roles that they were in, right down to almost like when they were a paper boy as a kid. And the reality is people really only are interested in what you do right now. But if there's a bit of credibility in, like, I worked for this particular company or that company before this, then sure, that can definitely add some weight to it. But as long as you really want to put your energy and effort into what it is you do right now.
Perfect. But you know what? I think there's a lot of great stuff there for people to actually action. Now, if they want to know more about you, where do they go?
Peter, the best way is just probably just go to my website, just adamhoulahan.com. Or, of course, where I'm most active is on LinkedIn. So just search me on LinkedIn. And now, the one thing I would say is, while it's not about profile, it's a big mistake that is made. People send connection requests without putting a short message as to why you're connecting. So please send me a connection request and say, hey, I was listening to Peter's podcast and love to connect. And guarantee you I will.
Well, it's been a pleasure having you on today. I mean, if anything's resonated with you and you want more information, head over to boolkah.com and get in touch. But also, we've got a webinar coming up that Adam and I are going to be doing on LinkedIn. So it's going to be supercharged, lots of great stuff that you can action. So as the links come out, make sure you register for that. And remember, failing to learn is learning to fail.